The night sky burned orange as flames rose from the old alien storage building. Thick smoke twisted upward like a dark snake, covering the moon. People from the alien town stood far away, whispering, shaking, refusing to move closer. No one dared to go near the fire. No one wanted to help. They only watched. Among them stood a human named Evan Hale. He had been traveling through the area when he saw the smoke. His first thought was simple. Someone might be inside. But when he saw the faces of the aliens, he felt something was wrong. Their eyes were cold, their bodies stiff. Their fear looked strange, like they were afraid of something more than the fire. Evan stepped closer and asked, "Is anyone inside?" The crowd went silent. A tall alien with gray skin whispered, "Only the worthless one." Evan frowned. "Worthless?" The alien looked away. "A small girl. She is nothing, not worth saving." Evan felt anger rise in his chest. A child is inside that burning building, and no one is helping her. No one answered. Some lowered their heads. Some stepped back. Some even looked annoyed, as if talking about the girl was a waste of time. Evan did not understand. A child was a child. Fire did not care if someone was worthless or not. The flames grew louder, cracking wood, exploding small beams. The heat pushed forward like a giant hand. Evan's heart beat faster. He had only seconds to decide. He looked once at the fire, then at the terrified aliens who refused to move. He did not know the girl. He did not know her people. He had no promise, no reward, no reason. But he knew what was right. He took a deep breath and ran into the fire. Smoke slapped his face the moment he entered. The air tasted like burning metal. His eyes watered. His lungs started to burn. The inside of the building was worse than he imagined. Walls collapsing, burning shelves falling like angry stars. But he kept going. "Hello," he called out, coughing. "Where are you?" At first he heard nothing, only the roar of the fire. But then, somewhere in the back, he heard a small, weak sound. Like someone crying. Evan pushed through the falling debris, shielding his head with his arms. He followed the sound until he reached a corner blocked by half-fallen beams. Behind them, curled into a small ball, was a tiny alien girl. She had bright silver eyes, now filled with fear. Her clothes were torn. Her small hands covered her face. Her skin glowed faintly blue, something rare, something beautiful, but she looked so weak, as if she had already given up. When she saw Evan, she didn't move. She didn't trust him. She whispered, voice shaking, "Go away. I am worthless." Evan knelt down, despite the heat burning his skin. "No, you're not. I'm here to get you out." She shook her head. "They said, I don't matter." "Listen," Evan said, raising his voice over the flames. "You matter to me. And right now, I'm not leaving without you." He lifted the beam blocking her, ignoring the fire biting his hands. He grabbed her gently and pulled her into his arms. She was trembling, but she held on to him tightly, as if she couldn't believe a human, someone completely different from her, was saving her life. "Close your eyes," he told her. Carrying her, Evan turned back toward the door, but flames had already flooded the path he used. The building groaned loudly. Another corner was collapsing. Evan looked around quickly. There had to be another way out. He saw a small window high on the wall. Broken glass. Fire licking around it. But it was the only chance. He held the girl close to his chest, climbed a broken shelf, and pushed himself upward. The heat burned his arms, but he didn't stop. With one final jump, he kicked through the window and fell outside with the girl in his arms. He hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his side, but he didn't let go of her. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then he heard gasps, shocked, confused, terrified, coming from the alien crowd. Their eyes were wide, their bodies shaking, because they realized something they had never imagined. A human had saved the worthless girl. The girl whose life was more important than anyone understood. And in that moment, the entire fate of the galaxy quietly shifted, though no one knew it yet. Evan was still on the ground, holding the small alien girl close to his chest, when the crowd slowly stepped back. Their eyes were wide not with relief, but with fear. No one came forward to help. No one tried to take the girl or check if she was alive. They just stared. The flames behind Evan crackled loudly as the burning building collapsed, sending sparks into the night. But even that sound was quiet compared to the strange silence of the aliens around him. Evan looked up, confused. Why are all of you stepping away? She needs help. The tall gray alien from earlier shook his head quickly. Don't touch her. Don't keep her near you. Evan stood up slowly, carrying the trembling girl in his arms. She's a child. She was dying in that fire, and none of you tried to save her. A small alien woman whispered with fear, because she is cursed. Evan frowned. Cursed. She's just a little girl. The woman pointed at the girl's glowing blue skin. She is the blue, marked. They bring destruction. If we help her, disasters follow. Evan looked down at the girl. Her face was covered in soot, her silver eyes half open. She was scared, confused, weak but cursed, dangerous. That sounded insane. He checked her pulse. She's burning up. She needs water, but the aliens only backed away more. Even the guards. Even the elders. Evan's jaw tightened. He gently placed his hand over the girl's forehead. She was burning with fever, and her small body shook like a leaf in the wind. She opened her eyes a little. Why did you save me? She whispered. Evan knelt beside her. Because you deserved to be saved. The girl blinked, surprised. No one had ever said that to her. Not even her own people. My name is Nerra, she said weakly. I didn't want to be born blue marked. Evan shook his head. You didn't choose anything. None of this is your fault. When he tried to stand again with her, the gray alien shouted, Stop. If you take her with you, if you protect her, her mother will destroy you. She will destroy all of us. Evan froze. Her mother. A wave of whispering spread through the crowd. The Destroyer Queen. The one who burns worlds. The Nightmare Empress. Evan blinked. You're telling me her mother is some kind of monster? No, the gray alien whispered. She is worse. Evan looked back at Nerra, who now clung to his shirt, shaking. Not because she was afraid of the fire, but because she was terrified of her own bloodline. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the ground. The aliens gasped and fell to their knees. A bright blue light appeared far in the sky, growing larger every second. The air vibrated. The ground cracked. The temperature around them shifted, becoming cold and heavy. Nerra's eyes widened with terror. She's coming. Evan looked up, shielding his eyes. A massive shadow covered the stars. A ship so large, it looked like a mountain hovered above the village. Strange symbols glowed along its sides. Energy waves pulsed like thunder. The aliens trembled. It's her, the Empress. She knows her daughter is hurt. Evan swallowed. Wait, you're telling me this ship belongs to her mother? The one you call Destroyer Queen? No, an elder whispered, tears in his eyes. We call her that because we fear her, but her true name is something far worse. Before he could finish, a beam of blue light shot down from the ship, striking the ground just a few feet away from Evan. Dust flew into the air. Energy rippled. Evan held Nerra tighter, turning his body to shield her. From inside the beam, a tall figure slowly appeared, surrounded by swirling blue energy. Long hair floated like living flame. Her armor glowed with markings similar to Nerra's skin. The aliens dropped flat to the ground, trembling. It's her, the mother of storms. Evan's heartbeat raced. The figure stepped out of the beam, her presence heavy like gravity itself. Her eyes glowed with a fierce, otherworldly power. She looked at the crowd first, and they trembled harder. Then she turned her eyes toward Evan. Her gaze was sharp enough to cut stone. Her expression, impossible to read. The air grew colder. Nerra whispered, voice shaking, please, don't hurt him. The Empress slowly walked forward, her shadow falling over both of them. Every alien around them pressed their faces into the dirt, trying not to breathe, but Evan stayed where he was, still holding the weak girl he had saved from the fire. The Empress stopped. In front of him, they stared at each other, and then her eyes widened slightly, not with anger, not with hate, but with something far more dangerous. Shock, because a human's, something she believed weak and unimportant, had done the one thing no one in the galaxy ever dared to do. He touched her daughter. He saved her life, and the entire galaxy would feel the consequences. Give us the child, or the world ends. The giant ship above the village hummed like a storm trapped inside metal. Blue energy moved across its surface in sharp lines, glowing brighter every second. The aliens on the ground didn't dare look up. They kept their heads low, shaking, waiting for the Empress's wrath to fall like lightning. But the Empress didn't look at them. Her glowing eyes stayed locked on Evan the human, who knelt in the dirt with Nerra in his arms. Evan felt the weight of her gaze like gravity pressing against his chest, but he didn't back away. He didn't drop Nerra. He didn't kneel like the others. He simply stood there, breathing hard, smoke still rising from his burned clothes. Nerra trembled, gripping Evan's shirt. Mother, he didn't hurt me. Please don't be angry. The Empress slowly moved her eyes to her daughter. For a moment, her expression softened. Only a moment. Then it hardened again as she looked at Evan. Human, she said, her voice deep, echoing, almost metallic like a storm speaking. Why are you holding my child? Evan straightened his back. I pulled her out of the fire. No one else would. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You entered the flames. Yes, Evan replied, his voice steady even though his heart raced. She was going to die. The Empress stared at him long and silent. The air around her shimmered with power. The aliens in the village shook more violently, sure that she would strike him down instantly. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped closer. Her armor glowed with ancient symbols, symbols Evan couldn't understand. He could feel heat coming from her, like standing too close to a forge. How did you touch her? The Empress asked. Evan blinked. Touch her? I carried her. She was hurt. No burn marks? She asked, leaning in. No wounds? No sickness? Evan frowned. Why would I have any of that? Her eyes widened a fraction. Because my daughter carries the blue mark. Anything that touches her without protection is burned. Or worse. Evan finally understood why the aliens had been terrified to help Nerra. But he looked down at his arms, only injuries from the fire. Nothing more. No strange burns. No sickness. He shrugged. I'm fine. The Empress's eyes glowed brighter. Impossible, Nerra spoke softly. Mother, he wasn't scared of me. The Empress looked at her daughter again. This time, something deeper passed through her eyes, a mix of guilt and surprise. Then she slowly reached out toward Nerra, but when her fingers touched her daughter's arm, she winced, as if holding back pain. Evan noticed. Even you can't touch your own child. The Empress froze. No one in the galaxy dared ask her questions, but this human did. She pulled her hand back and said quietly, My daughter carries a power that burns all life except her own. She is cursed by our ancient line. Even I cannot hold her. Nerra lowered her head in shame. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Evan felt something tighten in his chest. The girl was not cursed. She was alone. He said softly, "She didn't hurt me." The Empress stared at him as if he were something unreal. Something that shouldn't exist? "What are you?" she whispered. Evan half smiled. "Just a guy who couldn't let a kid die." Her eyes flickered with anger at his simple words. Not because he had insulted her, but because he had done something no army, no emperor, no warrior could do. He touched the untouchable. A sound suddenly echoed above them, multiple sharp alarms ringing from the giant ship. The Empress looked up sharply. One of the alien soldiers crawled forward on his knees. "My queen, the galaxy lines are shifting. Multiple empires detected. They are moving toward this world." Evan looked up. "Multiple empires?" The soldier explained in a trembling voice. "Your daughter's life is linked to ancient energy. When she was injured, every empire felt it. They think you are weak now. They are coming to strike." The sky flickered as red lines, yellow lines, and green energy trails shot across the starships from different civilizations rushing toward the planet. The Empress clenched her fists. "Fools. They believe my child's weakness means mine." She looked at Evan again, harder, more calculating. "You saved the center of my power," she said, "and now the galaxy moves." Evan didn't fully understand. "I just saved a kid." "No," the Empress replied. "You changed the entire balance of the universe." The ground rumbled again. More ships appeared in the distance, huge war fleets from rival empires. The aliens in the village screamed and hid. Evan stepped back, holding Nerra protectively. "What's happening?" he asked. The Empress turned her glowing eyes toward the sky. "They are coming to kill my daughter," she said. "And because you touched her, because you saved her, they will fear Earth too." She looked back at Evan and said words that made even the air freeze. "Human, you have bound your world to ours. If she dies, Earth dies. If she lives, every empire will kneel." Evan swallowed hard. Nerra clung to him, whispering, "Don't leave me." And above them, the first enemy fleet began to descend. The night sky, once dark and calm, now burned with streaks of red, gold, and green as warships from every direction rushed toward the small alien village. Each ship was enormous, shaped like knives, shields, beasts, or living crystals, each one carrying armies from rival empires, who suddenly sensed weakness in the Empress. The ground shook as their engines screamed across the atmosphere. The villagers cried and ran for cover, but Evan stood still, holding Nerra close, feeling her small body trembling. Above him, 3 giant fleets moved like storms, ready to crush everything below. The Empress watched them with cold eyes. "They dare to defy me." "Because they believe my daughter is dying," she said. Evan looked at her. "Then we need to get her somewhere safe." The Empress shook her head. "She is not safe anywhere. Her energy, it calls to them. They all want her." Nerra tried to speak but coughed weakly. Her glow flickered like a dying light. Evan knelt beside her. "Stay with me, Nerra. I'm here." She opened her silver eyes. "Everyone always runs from me. But you? You didn't?" "I'm not running," Evan said, voice steady. The Empress studied him for the first time. Her expression changed. Not anger, not suspicion, but something like RESPECTA. rare emotion for someone who ruled half the galaxy. Then she raised her hand. Blue energy spun around her fingers like lightning captured in liquid form. She placed her glowing hand on the ground. A massive circle of symbols formed around them, lighting up the entire village in blue flames that did not burn. The villagers gasped. A dome rose around Nerra, and the Empress, transparent but strong, humming with ancient energy. Evan touched the barrier. It felt like warm glass. "What is this?" he asked. "A protection field," the Empress replied. "It will hold for a short time, but not against the full power of 3 empires." Evan looked again at the sky where the fleets were lining up, preparing to fire. 3 empires? He repeated. "Yes," she said. "The Iron Dominion, the Solar Clans, and the Voidborn Empire." Evan blinked, all at once. "They smell weakness," the Empress said. "They have waited centuries for this." Her face hardened. "But they do not realize something important." Evan raised an eyebrow. "What?" She turned, her glowing eyes meeting his. "My daughter bonded with you. The mark did not burn you. That means your life energy. Matcha's hers." Evan stared. "Matcha's? What does that mean?" Nerra answered in a small, scared voice. "It means, if I die, you die too." Evan swallowed hard. "Great. No pressure." Above them, the Iron Dominion fleet opened its weapon ports. Massive cannons lined with red light. The ground trembled violently. The villagers screamed. The Empress stepped forward, spreading her arms. Blue armor grew around her like a second skin, forming giant wings of light. Her voice thundered. "Iron Dominion, you stand against the Mother of Storms. Turn back, OR. Be shattered." No answer came. Instead, warning sirens echoed across the sky. The Dominion fleet prepared to fire. Evan shouted, "They're charging their weapons." The Empress looked at Evan sharply. "Take my daughter. Keep her near you. Do not let go." Evan nodded and held Nerra tighter. "I've got her," Nerra whispered. "Please, be careful, Mother." The Empress gave the girl one long look in Gur. Sadness, pride, and love all mixing in her glowing eyes. Then she launched into the air, not jumping, flying. Blue light flared from her wings, blasting the ground downward. Wind spiraled around her, tearing dust into the air. Even Evan stepped back. "She's a storm," he whispered. "A true living storm." The Empress rose above the village like a goddess made of lightning, and then the Iron Dominion fired. "Hey!" Massive red beam shot down toward the dome. Evan shielded Nerra with his body. But before the beam reached them, a blur of blue light sliced through the sky. The Empress. She cut the beam in half with one swing of her glowing arm. The beam exploded into red sparks. She roared, her voice echoing like thunder. "You attack my child!" Lightning blasted from her body, striking 3 Iron Dominion ships at once. They spun out of control, crashing into their own fleet. More ships moved in, missiles, energy spears, gravity bombs. The sky lit up with weapons meant to destroy planets. Evan looked up, horrified. "They're trying to erase her, aren't they?" Nerra nodded weakly. "They think, if I am gone, the galaxy will be safe." Evan tightened his grip. "Then they'll have to go through me." The Solar Clan fleet opened next gold beams. Gathering like suns preparing to explode, the Empress shouted, "Move back!" Evan ran with Nerra in his arms as the sky exploded in golden fire. The dome cracked just once, but the crack spread like ice on glass. Evan felt fear rise. The shield? And then the Voidborn fleet arrived. Their ships were dark, silent, shaped like long shadows. A deep, cold voice echoed across the sky. "Give us the child, or the world ends." The Empress's eyes burned brighter. "No." A pulse of void energy shot toward the dome. It hit the shield. Shatter, Evan, and Nerra were thrown backward onto the ground as dust exploded everywhere. The Empress dropped from the sky, landing hard in front of them. She looked at Evan. At Nira. At the three empires closing in, and she said the words that made Evan's blood turn cold. "Human. Earth is next. They will come for your world." Evan stood up, jaw tight. "Then we fight." The Empress stared at him, and slowly, dangerously she smiled. The dust slowly cleared around the shattered dome. Evan pushed himself up, coughing, heart still holding Nerra close. The ground was cracked from the impact. The air tasted like smoke, metal, and fear. Above them, the three invading fleets moved like predators closing in around wounded prey. The Iron Dominion, the Solar Clans, the Voidborn Empire. Three ancient powers, each strong enough to destroy planets on their own. Now they hovered together, in the same skibby, 'cause of one small girl and the sudden weakness they sensed in her mother. But the Empress was not weak. Not yet. She stood in front of Evan and Nerra, blue energy dripping from her armor like burning rain. She was breathing harder, her power flickering, but her eyes still glowed with the sharpness of a blade. Evan whispered to Nerra, "Stay behind me. I'll protect you." Nerra's small voice trembled. "But they're here because of me." Evan placed a hand on her head. "You're worth protecting." No one had ever said those words to her. Not once in her entire life. She clung to Evan's sleeve, her glowing fingers gripping tight. The Empress looked back at them. "Listen carefully. What happens next will shake the galaxy." Evan nodded, then let it shake. The Empress stared at him long and deep, as if trying to understand something she had missed before. "You are human," she said quietly. "Your kind is supposed to be weak, small. But you saved my child, and did not burn. You stood before me without fear, and now you refuse to kneel." Evan answered simply, "I'm not kneeling for anyone." The ground trembled again. The sky darkened as a giant voice boomed from the Iron Dominion's flagship, Empress of Storms. "Surrender the marked child or be erased." The Empress stepped forward. Blue lightning crackled behind her. "Come and try," she roared. The Solaclans answered next. Their voice was bright and sharp like sunlight. "The girl is a danger to all life. Give her to us for cleansing." "Cleansing," Evan repeated, anger boiling in his chest. "She's a kid, not a weapon." But the coldest voice came from the Voidborn Empire. It didn't echo through speakers. It felt like it crawled into the mind of every living creature. "Give us the child." Evan felt a chill run down his spine. Even Nerra whimpered, ears folding down. The Empress spread her arms. Blue wings stretched out behind her. "I will die before I hand over my daughter." Silence fell. Then 1,000 weapons charged at once. Cannons glowed red, suns brightened gold. Black energy twisted in spirals. Evan stared up. "They're about to fire." The Empress turned slightly, speaking to Evan in a steady, cold voice. "When the attack hits, run. Take my daughter. Escape. I will." Slow them down. Nerra gasped. No, Mother, no. Evan shook his head. I'm not leaving you. The Empress's expression softened just a little, but enough to show shock. No soldier in the galaxy had ever said those words to her. You would stay, she asked, even though this is not your fight. Evan held Nerra closer. It became my fight the moment I pulled her from that fire. The Empress stared at him. She did not see a human anymore. She saw something impossible, something no prophecy, number empire, no ancient record ever warned her about. A human standing between the galaxy and a child he barely knew. A human refusing to abandon her. A human ready to face 3 empires. Before she could speak, the sky exploded. All 3 fleets fired at once. A storm of red, gold, and black energy rained down upon the Empress, Evan, and Nerra. The ground shattered. Air burst apart. Reality itself shook. The Empress raised both arms and released a roar so powerful it turned lightning white. A massive shield of blue energy formed around them, cracking under the impact, but the attack was too strong. The shield splintered. The Empress staggered as the energy tore at her armor. Her wings flickered. She screamed in pain but pushed herself harder, refusing to let the blast touch Evan or Nerra. Evan stepped forward, placing his free hand on the Empress's back, and something impossible happened. Blue energy surged from her into him. He felt it rush through his veins like fire and ice at the same time. It didn't burn. It didn't hurt. It felt right, like the energy had found a missing piece. The Empress jerked in surprise. Yuhu manure absorbing the mark's power. The energy strengthened. The shield stabilized. The blast slowed. The Empress stared at Evan with fear and awe. No one should be able to do this. Evan gritted his teeth. Guess humans are full of surprises. The attack finally broke, leaving smoke curling around them. When the dust settled, Evan stood beside the Empress's glowing faint blue, Nerra safe in his arms. The Empress whispered, What are you? Evan answered, staring at the fleets. A father, a soldier, a human. Take your pick. Nerra touched his cheek. You're my hero. A deep alarm sounded across the sky. The 3 empires realized something terrifying. The humans survived the attack, and the mark's energy flowed inside him. The Iron Dominion shouted, The human is now a threat. The Solar Clans screamed, He must be taken. The Voidborn whispered, He is connected. He must be erased. Evan tightened his fists. Let them come. The Empress smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. For the first time in 1,000 years, I am not fighting alone. The battlefield. Sky cracked with light. Smoke rolled over the village like a hungry wave. The 3 empires' dominion, Solar Clans, and Voidborn were no longer focused only on the Empress or her daughter. Now their eyes were locked on Evan, a single human, a human holding a glowing alien child. A human standing beside the most feared ruler in the galaxy. A human who survived a triple empire attack without armor, without training, without anything except courage. The Iron Dominion commander spoke first, his voice booming like marching. Machines. The human is compatible with the mark. He is more dangerous than the girl. The Solar Clans answered with bright fury. The human must be taken. His energy cannot be allowed to grow. But the worst was the Voidborn voice. It sounded like something that lived in darkness. Erase the human. Erase the child. Break the Empress. Evan felt a cold chill crawl down his spine. They didn't see him as a man anymore. They saw him as a weapon. Nerra clung to his chest, trembling. Evan, I don't want them to hurt you. He tightened his hold. They won't. The Empress stepped beside him, her blue wings flickering. She looked at his glowing hands, then at his eyes, which now held the same faint blue light. As her daughter, you share her energy, the Empress said. You are becoming a conduit. Evan blinked. A conduit? Nerra whispered. It means her power flows into you, and your strength flows into me. Evan stared at the girl. So we're connected now? Nerra nodded shyly. Bonded. The Empress's eyes widened just slightly, but enough to show how serious this was. A bond between a human and a marked child has never happened in our history, she said. If your energy grows too strong, the empires will fear you even more? Evan smirked. Good. The Empress stared at him like she wasn't sure if he was brave or insane. Before she could respond, the sky trembled again. 3 giant war beams charged for a second strike, stronger, faster, meant to obliterate everything in sight. The Empress moved forward, but Evan stepped in front of her. Human! She yelled. What are you doing? Testing something, he said. He held Nerra tighter, took one slow breath, and lifted his hand. Blue fire erupted from his palm like a living comet. The Empress froze. Nerra gasped. The village watched in disbelief. The human was using the mark. Freely. Naturally. Evan didn't understand how. He didn't think. He didn't plan. The power simply listened to him. The 3 beams fired. They hit his blue fire, had owned the fire didn't break. It swallowed them. Energy spun in a spiral around his arm like a shield made of living stars. The Empress whispered, Impossible. When the attack faded, Evan lowered his hand slowly, breathing hard. His arm glowed blue. His veins shimmered like starlight. Nerra's eyes shone even brighter, as if she shared his heartbeat. The Empress grabbed his wrist, studying the light. You may become something the universe has never seen. Something even I cannot predict. Evan looked at the 3 fleets. Then let's give them a reason to be scared. The Empress tilted her head slightly, a cold smile touching the corner of her lips. You speak like a warrior. He shrugged. I'm a human. We try. Suddenly, alarms blared across all 3 enemy fleets. The Dominion commander shouted, The human is evolving. Fire everything. Solar Clan's soldiers screamed, The human must be captured. The Voidborn voice whispered like a nightmare, Break him, before he becomes unstoppable. The ground shook violently. Hundreds of smaller ships detached from the main fleet's fighters. Bombers, interceptors flying down toward the village like a swarm of metal insects. Nerra panicked. There are too many. Evan put a hand on her head. Then we stand together. The Empress stepped between them and the incoming swarm. No. Her voice was cold, royal, heavy. You will not fight alone, human. You are bonded to my child. That makes you under my protection. She slammed her staff into the ground. Blue storm energy exploded outward, forming a circle of light around them. Stay inside the storm. Ring, she commanded. The winds will obey you now, too. Evan raised an eyebrow. The what? But as the first enemy ships fired, a massive gust of blue wind burst upward around him, lifting dust, bending flames, and slamming 2 fighters out of the sky. Evan stared. Okay, that's new. The Empress gave him a proud nod. You? Wield part of her birthright. Nerra hugged Evan's arm. You won't leave me? Right. Never. The sky lit up as the three empires descended like burning storms. The Empress rose into the air, wings blazing. Evan stood on the ground, blue wind swirling at his feet. Nerra's glow brightened, connecting the two of them like a pulse of living. Light that the battle for one child was turning into a war for the galaxy. Asterisk, the sky above the village was no longer a sky. It was war, flames, smoke, broken metal, and blinding light filled the darkness as three empires dropped their full armies toward one point, toward a human and a child who stood at the center of a broken world. Evan stood with Nerra held tightly. Against him, blue wind swirling around his feet like a living shield. The Empress hovered above, wings of pure storm energy spreading across the sky, her armor glowing with ancient fury. The Iron Dominion unleashed thousands of drones. The Solar Clan's fired beams bright as suns. The Voidborn released shadows that cut through reality. But they all aimed at one thing: Evan. Because the human now held the same energy as the blue Marcan energy, so rare, so powerful, that even empires feared it. The Empress roared, "Stand down, or face extinction." But they didn't listen, so Evan stepped forward. The blue wind responded instantly, rising, strengthening, circling around him as if waiting for command. Nerra felt the energy rise through her small hands. "Evan, your power, it's growing." He looked down at her, determination sharp in his eyes. "Then let's use it." The Empress landed beside them. "Human, are you certain?" Evan nodded. "They're coming to kill your daughter? And now they want Earth too? I'm not letting that happen." The Empress stared at him with something she had never felt. Toward any living being, not fear, not anger, not suspicion, respect. A human stood beside her as an equal. She placed her hand on Evan's shoulder. "And we end this together." The three enemy fleets fired against thousands of blasts, missiles, and beams raining toward the ground like a deadly waterfall. Evan stepped forward and raised his hand. Blue fire shot upward like a pillar. It split into hundreds of streaks each, one hitting an incoming blast and destroying it mid-air. The aliens below watched with wide eyes. A human is doing that? He shields the Empress. He shields her child. Impossible. But it was happening. The Voidborn shadow creatures swarmed down like living nightmares. But the moment they touched the wind around Evan, they evaporated into sparks. The Solar Clan's golden spears of light crashed into the storm ring and shattered like glass. The Iron Dominion's heavy drones fired again and again. But Evan lifted both hands, and a blast of blue energy rippled out like a shockwave, destroying an entire wave of machines. Nerra gasped. "Evan, your glow is brighter than mine." The Empress watched the human carefully. Then she whispered, almost afraid, "He is becoming a storm bearer." Evan didn't hear her. He took a single step forward, and the wind followed. Every empire felt it. Their ships shook. Their commanders screamed orders. Their sensors overloaded. Their alarms blared. The Iron Dominion commander roared, "Retreat! The human is unstable." The Solar Clans shouted, "The energy is rising too fast." The Voidborn whispered, trembling, "He is becoming a threat to the stars." But it was too late. Evan thrust both hands upward. A massive explosion of blue light erupted from his body wide, bright and powerful enough to tear the clouds apart. It shot upward into the sky, forming a giant pillar reaching the enemy fleets. Ships shook violently, Weapons malfunctioned. Engines died. Entire fleets drifted backward. For the first time in centuries, 3 empires took a step back because of a human. The Empress's voice boomed through the battlefield. Behold, the human who saved my daughter. The human who touched the mark and lived. The human who stands against empires. Electricity flashed across her wings as she rose higher. This human is under my protection. Touch him, or my child, again and you will kneel. Evan held near, close as she glowed brighter, sharing her strength with him. The 3 empires stopped firing, not because they chose to, because they couldn't. Their weapons powered, down on their own. Their fleets staggered, their shields flickered, something unseen pushed them back. Evan de Voidborn spoke with fear in its cold voice. Human, what do you want? Evan breathed hard, his body shaking but stable. Leave, now, and never. Come for this child again. The Iron Dominion commander growled. Or what? Evan raised his glowing fist. A storm formed behind him blew. Massive, spinning like a galaxy born from a human heartbeat. Or I come for you. Silence, pure silence. Then the Iron Dominion pulled back. The solar clans retreated. The void vanished into darkness. 3 empires fled. Because of one human, the Empress slowly descended. She looked at Evan, the simple man who changed the balance of the universe in one night. You've done what even my armies could not, she said softly. Evan shook his head. I just saved a kid. Nerra hugged him tightly. Not just saved. You became my light. The Empress knelt beside her daughter. She touched Nerra gently this time without pain. The bond Evan created made it possible. Tears filled the Empress's eyes. My child, I can finally touch you. Nerra smiled brightly for the first time. Evan stepped back, smiling. She deserves that. The Empress stood again, facing him. Human, the galaxy will remember this day. And when I speak, every empire will listen. She raised her hand to the sky, and they will kneel to earth. Because of you? Evan blinked. Wait, kneel. The Empress smiled. You became a storm, human? And storms demand respect. The villagers fell to their knees. The Empress bowed her head, and in that moment, every empire in the galaxy acknowledged Earth because one human saved one worthless child.